gummies. Were they good?
Yeah, they're delicious.
Delicious.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite candy?
I don't know. I love all candies.
You say big booty Judy?
Big booty Judy. If she could cut the fruit that I haven't tasted, that I don't think I have tasted before.
What? The fruit in the fridge? Are you leaving me?
I'm going to show you what fruit it is.
Oh, okay. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amanda Ray. Whenever I was 17, almost 18 years old, I left the cult that I was born in. If you're interested in seeing those videos on my background, I will leave them linked in my description box down below. But today we have Shanell again.
Hello.
I'm going to link the old videos we did with you in my description box down below as well. If you guys haven't seen those, go check them out. And for anyone who is new here, Shanell is my cousin who also came from the order, who is also full sisters with Colleen, and half siblings with Joe and Allison, which you've seen on my channel. So, in the last videos we talked about Shanell's, kind of your upbringing, your marriage, and then leaving the order, and kind of a little bit of like the immediate after. So here we'll be talking about a lot of your guys' questions, some of my questions, and a lot of my questions are just like advice. Because you've been out how long now?
Dang, almost 11 years. Excuse
Wow.
the hair, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm straightening it.
Yeah, well, this is more of a chill video. We're just relaxing at Shanell's house with all the plants. I've told you before, I looked up to you before I left, you and Colleen.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, how can I be like them? So let's start with my questions, and then my sister had some questions for you, and then we'll go into your guys' questions that you left on the last video.
All right.
So, what was one of the hardest things to adjust to, becoming an outsider? I mean, there's probably a lot.
Well, obviously, the biggest, a very big one that everybody goes through is having to accept that you're no longer welcome to come to any of the social things. Like, you can't go to your sister's baby shower, bridal shower, can't go to the dances, not the Halloween one, not the 24th of July celebration thing. Like my do.
No, you're all of a sudden ripped from the community.
and so you're like, it's a major isolation thing. Like, and that's a huge tool, by the way. That's a huge tool that they use, is isolation. One, keep the outside away from the insiders to isolate them inside, and then once they leave, to isolate them away from
the group.
The group and everyone that is still inside. That's
honestly why a lot of people go back, because they have no support. There's no community.
Yep.
So
honestly, I don't know. I have no idea what I would have done if I didn't have a support system. Because even after I'd physically left, I kept being like, "Oh, I'm gonna go back. We're just having a hard time. Like, we need help. We need therapy. We need whatever. Things need to change. But I am going back. At least that's what I thought."
I think that, and I could be wrong, but like when I first left, my brain wouldn't allow me to believe that my family was gonna disown me.
First of all, I gotta challenge you.
Okay.
Because you knew that was gonna happen. Your whole life, the order, like, you knew that was going to happen. You just never thought it was going to happen to you. The only reason I was still able to go back to my family is because I kept challenging it. Because my mom would call me and she'd be like, "Well, Daniel said this, Daniel said that, and you better not come over unless you're going to call ahead, and that way he can come over too." And
you weren't allowed to go home unless he was supervising?
Yeah. Or like we had to have a meeting or something first or some garbage, and I was like, "Alrighty then, understood. I guess I'll just have to show up unannounced."
So he would, if he found out, he would show up and just tell you to leave, and then you just leave?
Well, he really wanted to dominate and to dictate, so, but he didn't have any access to me, because I wouldn't talk to him throughout the whole divorce thing. I wouldn't. So then afterwards, and he even like, he would give my mom messages. Obviously, I'm aware that they're false promises. Things like, "Oh, I'll help her go to school and get a place, and like, I'll help her with the divorce, and I'll help her with this." And I was like,
back to the order.
"Oh, honey, I've literally spent a good 20 years figuring out how you help."
Like, that's how my dad got my mom to go back to the order. Yeah. He had all these empty promises. "If you come back, I will give you all of these things." And sure enough, it was the exact same when she went back.
Same house and everything.
Yep. If anything, it was a little worse, honestly.
I can't imagine it being any better at all, because obviously there's going to be repercussions. If not, even if not from your dad, from anyone and everyone else.
And like people treat my siblings different, obviously, because first of all, because we've left, and then because mom went on the show and left. So then the whole family's kind of treated as like there's this thing going around that's like the Grant boys will never get married because of that. And part of me wants to feel bad, but another part of me is like, well, then leave.
Well, and even if they don't leave, just encourage them. Go find someone you're not related to. Like, there's a whole world of people.
You don't have to marry who Paul says, exactly. So you had the support system of your aunt and uncle who was on the outside.
And my mom, because of the abuse, despite the whole order situation, because of the abuse, I did have the support of my mom. And I've even told her this at that time and everything. I was like, I'm not leaving, or I'm leaving a cult. I'm not leaving my siblings. I'm not leaving my family.
Because they like to turn it around on you and be like, you're leaving us.
You're leaving us. You're leaving us. No. What I'm walking away from is the abuse. If you're going to continue to add to the abuse, then you're welcome to consider yourself that. But really, I'm not walking away from family and away from siblings and away from my childhood and upbringing. Really, I'm walking away from the abuse and pain. But that obviously, of course, means I'm leaving the order and have to be disowned and all that now.
Yep.
Which is fine. Nobody really liked me before. Anyway, I'm too challenging and spirited. I don't fit in there.
You think for yourself too much. That was the problem with the Hanson family. That's why your mom still accepted you when you left, and I had never heard of that. Because my mom was even like, well, I mean, if you want to see me, you can, but you're not allowed to see your siblings. Like, she wouldn't allow me to come near the siblings. For the first year, I feel like she was, like, weird, back and forth, wishy-washy about it.
It was a lot easier for me to get to my siblings without my mom being there, because she worked a different schedule. So my siblings would come home, and I could be like, oh, hey, guys, let's hang out. And then I could either be there while mom's there, or, like, before she's there. Me and my mom... like you said, there's that big part of you that is like, my family's not going to do this to me. My mom's not going to do this to me. I'm not going to be disowned. Exactly. Like, I put my foot down with my mom. I was like, no, sweetheart, this has been my family my whole life. I'm not leaving my siblings. And all the while, too, I've been helping my mom my whole life.
Plus, you were the oldest, right? The oldest girl.
Oldest girl,
and
second
so
oldest child.
We bonded a lot with you.
For sure. I got, honestly, it's kind of sad to think about what some of my siblings did not get, but I did get to have personal one-on-one time and bonding with my mom while I was super young. Some of my younger siblings, most of them, they weren't. Mom had to work the whole time, and the siblings were taking care of siblings.
Well, yeah, once you have so many kids, you really are you're just worried about them surviving. You're not worried about them getting attention or the things that babies need. Whereas like Cammie did, she had that close bond with my mom as well. It was so hard when Cammie did leave for my mom to say goodbye, because I feel like a lot of women in the order, their kids are their best friends sometimes.
They are.
Because they don't have anyone else.
Well, and having that baby, like, that's the closest and the most unconditional love they ever experience in their lives, especially in polygamous relationships.
They don't know what unconditional love is from a husband, because all the love from a husband in the order is based on conditions. That's something I didn't write this down as a question, but I wanted to ask you, did you figure out, because for me, it took me a long time to figure out unconditional love, because my whole life, the love that I was shown was all based on conditions. It was like, what can you do for me type of thing. It was hard to separate.
It took me a long time, because it took me 21 years of my life. But it took me going into my aunt and uncle's home and being in a safe place with people who actually do love me, and parents who actually do practice unconditional love with their children and their, adopted children and everything. And I remember there would be times, like, I would be in a panic attack or on the verge, or like, just so broken and so obviously broken, and she'd hug me, and I would stand there stiff, like, what is this? Why is she touching me? Why is anyone touching me? This is my bubble. Get out of it. But at the same time, I was
needing that,
consciously aware that was her way of showing affection. And I did need it, but I didn't realize how badly I had needed it, because at first I wasn't open to it. I was just accepting what was happening.
It's so weird, because I went through the same thing, not the exact same thing, but when I was with my adopted family, whenever they would show unconditional love, I was like uncomfortable by it because
I know
I've
you're like,
never seen
where's
it.
the other side? Like, what's the
what are you trying to get out of it?
Mhm.
Because that's how the order works. And so it sucks because then you have to like rewire your brain once you leave. That like not all people are out there just to get something from you. We both had, I feel like, a decent amount of friends in the order because a lot of them are your family. So you're just kind of born with this group of friends.
Yes.
So once you left and you lost that, was it hard for you to make a new circle of friends out here on the outside?
Well, first of all, the people who meant the most to me for a good part of my life, you know, most of my life, if they can just up and turn their backs on me, why should I even try to deal with this stranger? You know, like, I mean, obviously I'll be civil and nice. I'm just so busy.
It just sounds like you're
I'm
guarded
so
a little
busy,
too.
and I need to be guarded because with a history, knowing the people we know, I learned a long time ago, if you're not careful, people will manipulate you. They'll lie to you. They'll get you to believe what they want you to believe. They'll get you to believe that you want to do things they want you to do, even though you don't. So I'm just like, I don't need to play anybody else's game. My game's already full enough. It's big enough.
I was doing kind of what you were saying, like people can manipulate you into thinking that you want to do all these different things. And when you come from a cult, your mind was, like, my mind was so much.
It was conditioned to be manipulated. Literally, that's what it was. Conditioned to be manipulated.
So I would catch myself being in environments and being, like, so deep into these environments and like, into these friend circles and then being like, wait, who am I?
Yeah.
Why am I here? It's not serving me anymore. Yeah, exactly.
See, I have friends that didn't come from the order, but I wouldn't say we're very close at all, other than, like, family, either on my side or Eric's side, you know.
And it's hard, even as adults, to make long-lasting friendships. Because a lot of your close friendships are going to be from your childhood. Like,
yeah, I was just going to say, I had heard that a long, long time ago that most, like, the majority of your long-lasting friends are people you meet from your childhood, but that's not always the case. But I'm like, you know, after coming from a world of socializing and, like, such a social life and then being ostracized, I'll make friends with animals and plants.
Yeah. They can't hurt me.
Yeah, well, like, and they're not going to expect me to be this thing or judge me when I'm not, or, like, or like, you know.
Like, I had friendships that were at different phases in my life, and then once I went out of that phase, we lost touch because I wasn't that phase of Amanda anymore. And
well, you've grown.
People, a lot of people don't see that as growth. They just see, like, oh, they've changed.
Right? I've thought about that so many times, honestly, because there's been a lot of times where I'm thinking, like, why won't my sister just, you know, why can't we just be like we used to be? Why can't we have a relationship? Why can't we just, like, go get lunch or coffee or whatever, and I'm still the same, she's still the same, but that's true in the sense that we are still the person.
Our soul is still the same.
We haven't died and switched lives, you know, we're just like, we're the same in that sense, but really, truthfully, we're not the same. We're all growing, and that's one thing I've had to look back in myself and be like, so what, and we were actually talking about this a little bit earlier without any videoing, but what is truly me? And what is something that I had adapted to
from the environment we grew up in? Exactly. Yes. I'm struggling so hard with that right now. Even though I've been out for 8 years, I was telling Shanell this, I literally would be looking in the mirror and I don't recognize who's looking back because I'm like, what parts of me are because I was raised in a cult and what parts of me are because I'm trying to be so different than that cult. Yeah. That I'm going so far the other way. Like, I've done things in my life that I never thought I would do. Like, I'm trying to find my roots, but I can't go home because I'm not allowed home right now. So it's like, how do you find yourself? And you had a really good point. You don't go searching and running around, because I think that was my problem. I was searching so hard to find Amanda that I was making all of these mistakes along the way. And what Shanell was saying is you need to search within.
Yeah, so Amanda was telling me, like, you know, we all have this, every single one of us, everyone, no matter where you're coming from, we all have this need and desire to find our truth and our true selves and, like, and to find ourselves. And so Amanda had mentioned something about finding herself. I just interrupted her. I was like, You're not supposed to be finding yourself. You have yourself. You're supposed to be creating yourself. You're supposed to be enjoying yourself. You're supposed to be looking within yourself. You don't need to go out and find yourself.
So I was like, why have I not thought about that? Where I was thinking I had to learn through experiences and like live this fast-paced life to learn how I react or adapt. And I think maybe that's part of it, but the internal is like 90%. You need to be doing, I don't know, yoga, meditation, journaling, really asking yourself what is Amanda and what is not Amanda.
And what do I want to hang on to and what do I want to change?
Exactly. Okay, then this is the question my sister Cammie had for you.
Okay.
What does a successful person look like to you?
I think it would be somebody who honestly can maintain control of themselves in any given pretty much any given situation, but not because they know how to handle it, but because they know that to be true to themselves instead of reacting to some rando or something or whatever, like.
So they keep their composure? Yeah,
like, see, and that's one thing that it's part of everybody's issues, because you have to establish who you are. And if you don't know who you are, create yourself. Decide who you want to be and be that. You're fully capable.
She asked me that question and I was like, a successful person, like, honestly, like, I have multiple versions of that. Like, I have in my mind someone who I believe is financially successful.
Yeah.
Someone who I believe is like emotionally successful. I don't feel like I know anyone, because she also asked, do you know anyone who is living that way, who is successful in your mindset? And I keep thinking, like, I don't know anyone except for my fantasy version of, because like every day I'm like, I want to be like her, but I don't know her secrets or what she struggles with, you know?
Well, and we all have our own struggles.
Exactly.
And lessons to learn. And
so I think that's part of my problem, is my idea for a successful person is kind of fake. It's not real. No human on this earth can keep themselves on the ball all the time, you know?
And that leads into, like, I have this philosophy with perfection. Like, I'd like to be a perfectionist, you know, but it doesn't always work out that way. But at the same time, one of my favorite things about it is it's non-existent, or we can create it, you know? You define your perfect. I define my perfect. Flaws and all, because nothing is exactly perfect or exactly symmetrical or
right. And who gets to decide what perfection is?
Exactly, because something perfect for this person is going to be horrible for this person given their situation. I've gotten to the point where I'm like, who am I now? What am I doing? Like, I didn't go to college like you guys, you know. I'm like, I don't have a degree. I don't.
But that's like
have this, that, whatever. I know exactly, but then at the same time too, it was like, I'm just doing what I was conditioned to do. I'm staying home. I'm feeding the babies. I'm raising the kids, doing the laundry.
But that was my next question. Are you happy though? Like, do you feel like this life is the life that you've chosen?
Yes.
And are you happy?
Yeah, and that's actually where I was leading into, is I, you know, got to the point where it was almost like triggering, because it was like, this is what I was supposed to do.
Be a mom.
Growing up, growing up, I knew my whole life I was supposed to have kids and raise them. And I wanted to be the one to raise them. So stay-at-home mom kind of meant, you know, well.
But you have to look at it this way. You're raising them the way you want to raise them, with the values you want to raise them with.
Yes,
you are not sharing your husband, too, in that toxic environment where your kids don't get to see their daddy ever.
Exactly. So. See, and that's what I had, like, after coming to that and being all a little butthurt about it for a moment. And I'm like, okay, but Shanell, where do you want to be? This is where I want to be. I do want to be home raising my kids. I've been in so many situations that made me firm in my belief that I want to be the one raising my kids, not some daycare provider.
Right, because you don't know. At the end of the day, you don't know what's going on at that daycare.
Or who's all there. Or
exactly.
What they're
No, I worked at, I've told you, I've worked at a daycare. It's stressful.
Being a mom is stressful.
You're not going to take care of someone else's kid as good as you're going to take care of your own.
I'm going to try, but in my home. Like, that's like, I intentionally do not want to go out and be a daycare provider. I'm more than willing to babysit for my siblings or cousins, you know, like, that's I'm more than willing, too. But like, not on if it was to be a regular basis, it would have to be like 1 or 2 kids, some odd hours a week, because I'm already doing that. I'm already babysitting. I'm not, you know, I'm babysitting my own kids, but I'm already doing the mom life, and I'm already doing that also while trying to figure out the wife life, and also trying to figure out the individual life too, because
and those
you
all
get
can
lost.
be,
you feel like you get lost.
It's a lot.
Life
It's a
gets
lot.
busy,
and at
and you
least
try to keep
can-
up.
Exactly, and at least you can do things your way. Whereas, I mean, if you would have lived the life your mom had, you'd be working. You wouldn't be able to stay home and raise your kids.
Like if I just stayed there and done all that, I never would have been able to get the tools that I have now to deal with the stressors and to deal with the anxiety, and to recognize when I need a break. In the order, they don't care.
Yeah.
Suck it up and deal with it. Figure it out. We're all sick. You can be sick at home. Or you can
And
be sick at work.
depression and anxiety and stuff like that, they're not even words that are used in the order.
That's
It's
because you're just
go,
whining.
go, go.
You're just crying. Just being a baby. At least that's what they're saying. No offense, guys. I have depression and anxiety. We're not just being babies.
I hate that that's the mindset that the men have. Like, I've had, you remember, she died because that's how her husband was. He was like, you're fine. And she had a literal physical issue within herself. And she ended up dying because she kept asking for permission to go to the doctors.
She's not the only one. Asking permission and denied.
And then they pass away because their husband thinks that they're just fine. Let's start with the questions from you guys, since we got through all of these ones. And then we'll end with this last question I had for you. Can I grab this?
Oh, yes. I'll have to.
One question that was very common, and it's been asked on like most of my interviews, is what are you spiritual? Like, do you raise your kids in a church? Where are you at spiritually now?